One of the most beautiful parts about the classic World of Warcraft is the sense of exploration that is provided to a player. The continents of Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms are massive areas with a ton of quests, special NPCs, scenic locales, and a wide variety of secrets to uncover. While you can often return to a nearby town to find some vendors to sell your items to and buy a variety of items from, there are many more vendors that can be found outside of towns, in the wilderness, and off the beaten path. Some are pretty obvious to find and not really hidden, like the iconic Antonio Pirelli, who travels from Lakeshire to Goldshire to Sentinel Hill to Darkshire, and continuing the loop back towards Lakeshire. But there are many more vendors in pretty random locations that sell a wide variety of different items, and I want to take some time to celebrate these vendors because they're just so cool, and it is always fun to travel across the world and come across an interesting NPC who is selling an interesting item. Starting in the Eastern Kingdoms, let's head over to the Red Mountains of the Badlands and find Jazric. This is a goblin NPC located in the central part of the map that is simply a blacksmithing supplies vendor. Further north in the Otrak Mountains is a more iconic goblin by the name of Broken, who you can find in the ruins of Otrak. This NPC is the only character in all World of Warcraft who will sell the alchemy recipe for frost oil. Down in the Hillsbrad foothills, some players likely know Zixo, who patrols between South Shore and Terran Mill and has a few different recipes, but another interesting character is Chris Legace, who you can find around Durnhold Keep, who sells some leather armor, some of which is of uncommon quality. But northeast of Durnhold Keep, near Thoradin's Wall, is an undead who will sell some leatherworking supplies and also the patron for green leather armor. Another source for the green leather armor recipe for Alliance players, as well as a couple of other recipes, is a Winna Silkbeard who can be found in the house at Swiftgear Station. This area in general is just really fun because it is a small little homestead in the middle of the wetlands, far away from other towns, where this house does serve as a nice refuge to stay safe at and sell some extra items in your inventory. Another NPC who many players know about but I just love a lot is Kixel, who is a goblin herbalism supplies vendor along the main road in the wetlands at the cross that goes north to the Arathi Highlands. He often sells some healing potions, which are always nice to pick up. An iconic character for Alliance players is Deneb Walker, who will sell the expert first aid book as well as the manual for heavy silk bandage as well as the manual for Magewee bandages. You can find this character in Stromgarde hanging out with the Alliance forces here. In the Red Ridge Mountains, you can find Clyde Ranthal, a leatherworking supplies merchant at the Skinning Camp in the southwestern mountains. He sells leatherworking supplies as advertised, but also sells the pattern for the Black Whelp cloak. Cowardly Crosby is an interesting character in Strongthorn Vale on the very southern tip of the peninsula who sells tailoring supplies and occasionally the pattern for the Admiral's hat. An iconic vendor in Westfall is the Defias Profiteer, who you can find up in the Moonbrook Inn, who sells some uncommon quality goods as well as the alchemy recipe for the Rage Potion. And the final hidden NPC in the Eastern Kingdoms I want to highlight is Augustus the Touched. This is a really cool NPC who you can actually unlock as a vendor upon completing a quest, where you can find him in the northwestern corner of the Eastern Plaguelands in Terradale, right next to Plaguewood, an area that is really out of the way and also deep inside Scourge territory. He offers you a really simple quest called Augustus's Receipt Book, where you need to run into the nearby ruined inn, grab the book, and bring it back to him. Upon doing so, he will be unlocked as a vendor. This NPC is in a nice location because it's an easy vendor to talk to when you are questing in this area or are right outside of Stratholme. He also sells mushrooms, which you can buy to eat as food if you run out of food in this area, and he will occasionally sell a relatively expensive item known as a crazy grab bag that will contain a random green item that is generally not worth the price of the bag. Going across the Great Sea to the continent of Kalimdor, there are many more NPCs we can find here. Starting in the classic region of the Barrens, we can find Kicknickel, a goblin located in the western mountains of the Barrens, just southwest of the Wailing Caverns. This stylish clothier sells a few different cloth items as well as the tailoring pattern for a red woolen bag. Next to him is Pizknuckle, who will also sell some leather armor, and way further north in the Barrens, up in the northern mountains, Horde players can find Vrang Wild Gore, who sells a wide variety of items, particularly some special weapons, cloaks, and mail armor. In the contested territory of Ajara, you can find the gnome engineering supplier Juby Gadget Spring in the southern bit of the map, near the coast and by the mountains, where she sells the engineer recipe for the deep dive helmet that allows underwater breathing. In the Windshear Crag and Stone Talon Mountains, you can find Phoenix, who will sell some different items, including the engineering schematic for Goblin jumper cables. You can also find Nizik up in the Ventricle area, who will sell some different pieces of armor. In Winterspring, you can find the iconic Vael, who is an imp in Frost Whisper Gorge, who will occasionally sell Grom's Blood and Felcloth, but also sells Vanishing Powder and the Fel Elemental Rod, which is used for the Tier 0.5 set. And finally, in Desolus are two interesting golems by the names of Vendertron 1000 and Superseller 680. These two spawn at either point of the big Kodo caravan that travels through most of the map and will sell items when the caravan is stopped at their respective locations, both of whom will sell some random items, including a variety of recipes for leatherworkers, tailors, and chefs. And these are all my favorite hidden NPCs that you can find through the Vanilla World and Classic World of Warcraft. If there are any vendors or other hidden NPCs that you particularly enjoy, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Exploring the world and coming across various interesting locations, decorations, and characters is one of my favorite things to do in video games. I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.